Some of the cards we're going to discuss in today's video have been so low for so long that it really shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone that some of these cards have spiked over 300%. It's time to talk about some hot Magic cards that players may not realize are actually going up in value. Welcome back everyone, MTG Moxman here. Thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. And a reminder, if you enjoyed today's content, don't forget, like and subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell because I have new content coming to you every single day. Now, you would think I'd be talking about cards from Bloomborough right now, but that's not the case. Although the Seeds of Innocence, which is a reserve list card, it's still really hot. It's still selling a lot of copies. We discussed it last week and the price is staying very stable. Although there is a very large amount of players looking for the card, the quantity of the card is actually quite low, and that means it's still staying around the $25 level, and that's all because of the Eater of All, the new elemental beast, Calamity Beast, that's come out of the new set. With that whole situation, you have to wait and see how that's going to play out. I think that card actually, Seeds of Innocence, could easily hit 30 or 40 bucks without much more pushing, depending if players can find more quantities of these cards in their home, stashes somewhere put away that they put up for sale. If not, we're going to see the prices stay kind of where they are, depending on supply and demand over the next several weeks. But no, we're going to go back to an oldie but a goodie that I haven't mentioned for a long time. But this card is definitely going up in value, and there's a lot to discuss about what's going on with this card. Let's take a look at this. So here we are taking a look at Mox Amber, and this is from Dominaria. Now this card right now has an average price of $40.52, but over the last month, this card has gone up $6.52. It's around a 10% overall increase, and when we take a look at the card in a closer aspect, this thing is a zero casting cost legendary artifact that says, add 1 mana of any color among legendary creatures and planeswalkers you control. So that meant when this card was created, and a lot of people didn't see it coming, that it was almost like a destiny foretold that we were going to have lower casting cost planeswalkers, lower casting cost legendary creatures to make this card more effective. Now, where did that lead us? Well, this card went up a lot in value over the years. It gained a lot. And then finally it got a kind of a reprint inside the Brothers War. But as you can see with the schematic version here, this thing is doubled in price, which has given it a huge markup in the last 30 days. This thing's gone up by over $40, okay? Bringing the average price for this card to $78.95. It's the exact same card, nothing different, but the value is still definitely there for players who are seeking this card out. But it gets even worse than that, because that means if you take a look at just the regular retro version, this card is still going off as well, and it's increasing even a little bit more than the original Dominaria version. These are slightly cooler versions. They look very nice, and a lot of players are kind of, honed in on these things and definitely are talking about them. Now, let's factor some stuff in here. Mox Amber has had a very sordid past where people didn't realize what this card was going to be. Dominaria in 2018 was short run. They just cut off the printing because they thought everyone was kind of done buying it. Mox Amber stayed very low for about a year and a half at around the $5 level, and then slowly started creeping up in the market space. Then we started getting lower casting cost planeswalkers, lower casting cost legendary creatures, and that's kind of where we went. This card reached high levels, okay? I mean, this thing was up to like $80 US to get yourself a copy of Mox Amber, and the big thing came when they reprinted it in the Brothers War. Now, it wasn't in every single box. It was still hard to get all the different versions and the serialized versions. And guys, this card is still highly sought after. When I did a cursory look about all the stores that have this as an available card to buy, almost nobody has Mox Ambers in store from major retailers. You basically have to go to things like Card Market. You got to check out things like Card Kingdom, TCG Player. You've got to go to that secondary market because apparently there's a person out there who's just not letting them go. I know. For anyone who's been on this channel for a long time, it is me, MTG Moxman. I do have the largest quantity available in the world of Mox Ambers. And I'm not intending on letting them go because it's kind of how we got everything started here on the channel. Now, I have sold some over the years, and I have released some into the wild, as it were, when the price was very high. I made a lot of money doing it. No bones about it. It was a great experience. It just took a long time to sell. But that doesn't mean it's satisfying what's happening in the market, because here's what's going on. yes, this thing can be played in Modern and stuff, but no, we are talking about where we're seeing this in Commander. A lot of players need more than one copy for multiple Commander deck builds in which they don't want to rotate cards out. So you're having people buy the card and hold on to it, buy the card and hold on to it, and repeat and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat until somebody owns 4, 5, or 6, and there's just not enough out there, which is driving the price higher. It is making the price, the supply and the demand issue for a card like Mox Amber go even higher than where it was. Now, this card has gone over about double in price, and although it reached lows of around 35 bucks when we saw the Brothers War, and that's Canadian price, by the way, it's continued now to start climbing. And a lot of stores are now starting to raise buy lists, trying to find people who will sell this card so they can resell it on the secondary market. And they're not having much luck, I'll be honest, okay? Even though I've seen some really nice buy lists, I don't see these orders being fulfilled. I don't see this card coming back to market, which leaves only a couple of things that can happen. Number one, this is a reprint target that is going to happen sooner rather than later. The Brothers War, although it's only a couple of years old now, it's not going to be soon enough for more of these cards to come onto the market to satisfy what's going on with players, maybe even a secret layer. So keep that in mind. If you're one of the players hoarding a bunch of these cards, or even a couple of them, you're wondering about the reprint value of if and when this thing gets reprinted, it's going to happen, okay? Mox Amber is used all the time now in multiple formats, so it's a card you need to be aware of. Will likely get a reprint sooner rather than later. But there's more than that. These aren't the only cards spiking. Check out the next card. Our next card to talk about is Ob Nixilis the Adversary. I'm showing you the showcase version. This is from Streets of New Capenna, but even the full art version's doing the same thing. This went from being a $5 card all the way back up to 20 bucks, okay? This thing started out at 50 when it was first released on pre-order, and it kind of fell over time, although it was used a lot in Standard. And now that it's about to rotate out, it's starting to spike again. We know nobody's opening up new boxes of Streets of New Capenna. Okay, we know it's pretty much done, but that doesn't mean this card's not going to be a target for a reprint, but it's going up about 300% in value. I think last week it was just over 200%, and it kind of hit my radar, but I'm seeing continual sales, I'm seeing buy lists appearing on it, and it looks like the appetite for this card is going to continue a lot longer than people realize, so it's something to factor in, but that's not our only card. Let's talk about what's going on with Spell Snare as well. Now, Spell Snare, this is the modern Masters version of the card. If you take a look at the spike of where this has been. It went from like a $1 card all the way back up. And that's because when you take a closer look, for 1 blue, as an uncommon, it says counter target spell with converted mana cost of 2. Okay, guys, this is important because we've seen so many low casting cost things now that a 2 counter spell is an amazing card to have, and that's something to recognize. Another card that has jumped up by over 300% at this point and continues to show really strong sales. And don't forget, this is an uncommon. If someone had told me that Mox Amber was going to rebound in price and spike again, gaining 10, 12, 14%, I really wouldn't be surprised. It's a sought after card. It has the name Mox in it. And it's a card that Wizards of the Coast wants there to be a certain value retention of that card and a certain playability factor that probably factors into the overall gameplay of what Wizards of the Coast is expecting to have happen in various formats. When I take a look, though, at something like Ob Nixilis, I wouldn't have expected that card to rebound as fast as it did. Maybe to the $10 level, but as a Planeswalker jumping back from a $5 slot back up to almost 20 bucks now, that card is something you have to keep an eye on. Wizards of the Coast likes to reprint Planeswalkers to keep their prices in check, okay? Most of them never get above 40 bucks now, and they make sure that doesn't happen. So keep an eye if you're one of those people who has multiple copies. I don't expect that card to hold. Now, for the other card, Spell Snare. Going up 300% is a big deal. There's been a lot of uncommons in the last several months, ever since even Murders at Karlov Manor, that we've seen uncommons take a new place of value in Magic the Gathering, where Wizards of the Coast makes a certain track printing harder for these cards, which makes them more valuable. They're not as readily available in boxes, and that means the value and the ability to be sought after and purchased by players means the value of supply and demand keeps a little bit higher than normal. And that's a good thing for players who like there to be some value in the boxes when they buy them in case they want to sell some cards off. But at the same time, it gives Wizards of the Coast the okay to reprint them later in a premium box, knowing that that card is at a $5 or $6, $7 level as an uncommon. It's something to be aware of. I also think they're going to track up and hold some value in some of the rare slots for some of their cards, especially cards like the Murder Karlov Man or Surveil lands and stuff. It's something to keep an eye on. And for players who are thinking about triomes, I am tracking those to see how the values are averaging out, to see if that's going to be a card that's going to hold longer value without a reprint. We're going to have to wait and see, okay? I'll let you guys know that information as soon as I have it. But this is an interesting time in Magic to see so many single cards with so much gameplay in Commander coming around, and the values of these cards starting to kind of shoot up where we didn't really expect them to, and have the market kind of go off like this is amazing for players who have been collecting and having some of these cards and having a good time playing with them, but now they get to cash in some of that value maybe and move into other cards they're hoping to get their hands on. I know with the reserve list cards, there are a few cards I'm tracking because they're higher than normal sales, like Seeds of Innocence, that it just lets you know that the value is there for certain cards when a new card gets created. And the Eater of All has definitely caused a spike in the Seeds of Innocence. And the problem is there's not enough supply coming to market to meet the need, which means the values may be a lot higher going forward. Guys, thank you again for hanging out with me on my channel today. I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow with another video. Guys, always a good time. Shop smart, shop S-Mart. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you to the fantastic patrons of my channel. Because of these patrons, daily uploaded content is made possible, and thank you to each and every one of you for making me part of the journey on YouTube with you in our Magic collecting and game enjoyment. I look forward to seeing you guys each and every day with more videos and more content. So thanks again to my YouTube membership members and of course the patrons of the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Guys, we are here at the end. Hold on, let me just get a coffee here. We're here at the end of the video. Ramble jamble, ramble jamble. And I've got to be honest with you. I am not surprised by Mox Amber in the least. Okay? Sure, the different versions go up different values. But Wizards of the Coast, the way they worded that card gave away so much back in the day. And now you look at the card and almost there's 20, 30 decks running this thing. So it's a card to keep in mind. If you have it, you're probably in a pretty good position right now, because after the Brothers War, we're probably not going to see a reprint for another 2 years unless it comes in a secret layer. And I mean the soonest time frame is 2 years. That's still quite a while for a card like this to slowly creep up if the desirability and playability and lower casting cost planeswalkers come along. Let's not forget, they've given us all kinds of these flip planeswalkers that cost 1 and 2 mana that make a lot of these cards playable. They've given us low casting cost legendary creatures that make it very playable on turn 1, turn 2 to get a Mox Amber out. Amazing. Okay, good for people who own it. Great for gameplay for the fast speed games. And now we have to wait and see what Wizards of the Coast wants to do with the value of this card. If they want to keep it at a high value, they'll never let it go into a regular set again. It's always going to stay kind of like Mox Opal and stuff. It's going to be that sideline card. And that just leaves room for a new Mox to be created in the future. Pay attention to that stuff. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here. Thanks for being here at the end of the video. Guys, always a great time. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another video. Yeah, now I'm going to drink my coffee and make some popcorn for the kid.